Fallout London creators forced to delay hotly anticipated mod out of fear of Fallout 4's next gen update will fix it. Dude, it's so funny that they're the most hardcore mods, the people that like the modders that work their butts off to keep these games alive for a decade after launch. They're just like, oh yeah, no, when the company that made this thing releases an update, yeah, it's going to break everything. So we're just going to wait. It's just, this is how it works. This is just what we've come to expect. The creators of the long-awaited Fallout London mod have delayed it indefinitely out of fear that the next gen update for Fallout 4 will break it. Last week, Bethesda announced an April 25th release date for the long-awaited next-gen update for Fallout 4, upon which the ambitious DLC-sized Fallout London is based. That's just 2 days after Fallout London's already announced April 23rd release date. As modders have experienced in the past, Bethesda game updates have a tendency to break existing mods, and it's exactly that fear that sparked an announcement from a clearly exacerbated Fallout London mod team. Quote, "We've just been tweaking and testing nonstop in order to get things as stable as we can for you, all in time for that release," said the project lead Dean Carter in an announcement video. But with the new update dropping just 48 hours later, the past 4 years of work stand to just simply break. Oh man. Like, yeah, this big update, yeah, it's just going to break and potentially ruin 4 years of work. No big deal, whatever. The expectation is the Fallout 4 update will break the Fallout 4 script extender upon which Fallout London and many other Fallout mods rely. And so Team Full-On must wait for the creators of Fallout 4 script extender to issue compatibility fixes of their own before it can hit the go button on Fallout London. But without knowing when those modders, who are all volunteers, will have the time to deal with the problem, a new Fallout London release date is impossible to announce. Carter is clearly disappointed with the delay. Quote, "This pains us. Honestly, it really, really hurts us." April 23rd is St. George's Day, the celebration of England's patron saint, and Fallout London would have enjoyed a nice tie-in if it had hit its release date. Similarly, April 23rd is the day that Fallout London begins in-game, so players who jumped in on St. George's Day in real life would have been aligned with the game. Carter also claimed that Team Full-On does not have a line of communication with Bethesda, which perhaps explains how the Fallout 4 Next Gen update release date blindsided the modders. Quote, "Bethesda has never reached out to us during our entire tenure. We've never had an in-depth conversation with them, ever." Bethesda never changes. Dude, it's crazy to me that they've never even reached out. If you don't know Fallout London, like, Fallout London is a crazy ambitious project. It is massive. I mean, they've dropped this trailer.
Greetings and welcome to the latest update for Fallout London.
Bear in mind, everything you're seeing is being produced by unpaid modders who are doing this out of the kindness of their heart.
This will be our most significant update to date, revealing more than ever before about what we have been working hard on for the past few years, laying out the path to release, and announcing our official release date. Over the past 3 years, a core team of at least 50 people spread over each core department have spent tens of thousands of hours on the hard graft and development of the game-sized mod Fallout London, with over 200 individuals contributing in some way to its completion. After all this hard work, the game is now at a functional content complete stage. However, due to some unforeseen delays, we have not completed the polish and testing we want to do before release. And so, we will be pushing back the release to a few months later than originally planned. We'll explain more about this and the road to release later in the video.
And that was targeting April 23rd. So the game is just massive. I mean, you can see how many crazy things they've done here. Like, I'll let him explain.
Which is the leafy suburbs of Bromley with its 261 cells. The trendy canal paths of Camden with 305 cells. Steel and glass towers in the financial hub of the City of London, boasting 139 cells. 283 cells make up the ruined hellscape of Croydon. Not much change there, huh? Eastminster, a new compact district with exactly 100 cells that blends history and modernity.
I'm just saying this as an American. Hearing somebody say Eastminster sounds so odd because I've only ever heard of like Westminster. So hearing Eastminster just sounds like you're trolling me.
Mere levels. We're in fact crafting London from the ground up. Recognizable, changed, warped. A world where every step shapes your legend, and where the landscape is as deadly as the tales you choose to tell. The game setting includes 15 boroughs of London to openly explore. We begin with areas such as the leafy suburbs of Bromley, with
I was hoping he would explain what cells are, but he doesn't.
home to the echoes of naval stories is Greenwich, with its maritime
Does anybody have any, does anybody know what he's referring to when he says cells? It's a zone that gets loaded. Okay, so it's just individual little cells or zones of loading. I'd like to know how big they are, though.
charm with 460 cells. Hackney, with its vibrant racing heart of 151 cells. Islington's cultural enclave, which offers 102 cells of eclectic charm. The cramped ruins of Lambeth, with 175. Lewisham, the urban mosaic, a 182-cell canvas of diversity. Newham, a dynamic district with 109 cells, where radiation change is the only constant. Historic streets of Southwark, with 437 cells, where every corner whispers tales of yore. Tower Hamlet's 368 cells, of where power and history collide. The open parkland of Wandsworth, and its 388 cells. And Westminster, the political epicenter, boasting 304 cells. Creating these areas has required concepting, design, testing, and onerous nav meshing to ensure they produce a cohesive world that is also engaging for exploration and combat.
Bethesda has not even reached out to these people. That's crazy. For reference, the vanilla base game has 2,965 cells. Far Harbor has 937 cells. I didn't count up. How many cells does this have in total? If I were making a game, or if I worked at a studio and I had like some sort of say, and I saw that our fans were doing something this elaborate, I would fly them out to the studio. I would like dine them and I would wine and dine. I would give them back rubs, whatever they want. Like, this is crazy. This is basically keeping a game afloat, and they're doing it for free. Fallout London is 3,700 cells, at least from what I could find. So it's bigger in terms of scale than Fallout 4's base map is. That's madness. Yeah, I would hire them, first of all. I mean, if this, I'd ask them to see what it's actually like. And if it's decent, I'd be like, yeah, do you guys want to like come work with us? We'll give you resources. Like it's one of the things where I'm genuinely confused. Why wouldn't they go in there if they saw the potential this had, hire this team, be like, hey, we'll offer you guys jobs. We'll still make this available for free, but we're going to give you resources. We're going to make this canonical because we have the resources to do that and we have the authority to do it. And we'll do all of that. But they don't want to do that. Isn't Bethesda butthurt about New Vegas? Why would they care about this? Well, that's the vibe it gives off. Like, it might be that, oh, maybe it's like a regulatory thing, or maybe they can't go over there and reach out with them without all these extra approvals. And so they're just going to smile and nod and ignore it. Otherwise, it might be infringing on copyrights or whatever. Maybe that's what it is. But it comes off as they're like pissy that these guys are doing such a great job and people are so stoked about this over and above what Bethesda's been doing. I mean, Bethesda's been working for years on like Starfield. It comes out, people are like bored of it instantaneously. But this, people are getting super stoked on. And it has a lot of potential. Like, if this were announced as a new Fallout game that's like from a smaller team, kind of like a Lost Legacy spin-off title, I think people would be super pumped about it. People would be so excited. Even if it's like same tool set as Fallout 4, but just a new Fallout story, people would be in love with it. It's just crazy. And again, it's a mod. It's wild.
But with a combined total of 3,700
I just needed to hit play for 5 seconds and it would have told me how many cells.
64 cells, lock, stock and barrel. Amongst these eclectic London boroughs are an additional mix of areas, with a final total of 11 fascinatingly diverse world spaces, 337 detailed interior cells, 48 of which are the scale of the base game's Corvega factory, and a total of 7 unique settlements for you to build to your heart's content. The total area covered by our world is equivalent to the base game Commonwealth and Far Harbor DLC combined. This lofty world space size makes Fallout London one of the largest mods for Fallout 4 to date.
Stunning. Stunning.
3D. Populating this huge area has required the creation and adaptation of an enormous number of 3D assets, from the desolate urban sprawl to the tattered armor shaping your character's attire, or the eerie glow of mutated foliage, and the ominous cyber pigeons desecrating forgotten statues. Each element breathes life into the panorama of Old Blighty. Whilst much base content has been reskinned or tweaked to fit a British setting, a great number of items have been made from scratch and new animations developed to support them. They include custom weapons, clothes, races, foliage, London-specific architectural kits, and, of course, finely brewed pots of tea. It also includes many hundreds of miscellaneous assets, from iconic London buses to the humble 3-pin plug to the extra mysterious cute Thulu doll. Every asset meticulously crafted for our setting immerses players in a world rich with roleplay options. Our assets let the player explore a new reality where each detail beckons, inviting you to forge your own path and truly feel the pulse of the unknown.
It's like breaking my brain. It's breaking my brain. It's breaking my brain. And bear in mind, all of this has been readily available, readily known. Bethesda is certainly aware of this, even if they don't reach out to them. And they had this announced and scheduled for release on April 23rd to capitalize on the show and everybody's interest in all of this stuff. And then Bethesda comes along and is like, yeah, we're going to break it all 2 days later. Like, again, I'm sure Bethesda has their reasons for releasing when they do, but it comes off as like really just nasty. You know, like, yeah. Why does this make me even more excited than Starfield did? And I'm not even a fan of BGS games. Yeah, it's genuinely shocking. It's amazing. It's very, very impressive, but blows my mind. This is something people are doing for free.
2D. Our 2D artists have produced a plethora of artwork to populate the world with London-centric content. New signage, posters, graffiti, comic covers, logos, and textures help build a believable future London for you to get immersed in. In addition, we have overhauled the user interface with our Attaboy alternative to the Pip-Boy, which includes custom animations for stats, perks, and quests based on the UK's Protect and Survive family.
Already looks way better than Pip-Boy. I understand the Pip-Boy is thematically accurate to what they want to do, but as a user interface, it is laughably terrible. But they just casually come in and fix it.
Music. Fallout London sports a completely new and unique OST, covering all music found in the base game while adding more. It includes a completely new and overhauled soundscape, ambient and gameplay soundtrack, and features 3 new radio stations you can tune into.
And I'm pretty sure Starfield did not have a radio station, period. Like, again, just stunning. Now, to be fair, there's extra hoops that an official game release that's like charging full price has to go through compared to a mod. Like, they have a lot more freedom this way around, and they don't have to seek like corporate approvals and stuff, but it's still just madness. Yeah, Miku too. They could seriously just be a separate studio to Bethesda with the amount of people they have. Well, yeah, and I mean, they're saying right now one of the big issues is that they know that this is going to break it. It's going to break the Fallout script extender, so they have to wait for those mods to patch that. But they still, like, they live lives, they're working jobs. This isn't their full-time gig, so they have to wait till they have time to do it. Bethesda could easily have given these guys a heads up or like an early build to test off of. They could have easily done this stuff if they really cared, but they just seemingly don't. Like, and this is where you're left with one of two options. Like, either they just genuinely don't care about the modding community and they're like, yeah, no, sink or swim, you'll figure it out, whatever. And they just don't care. Or they are so freaking oblivious that they don't even know about the biggest mod probably ever made for Fallout 4. They don't know about it being scheduled for release 2 days before they plan to break pretty much all mod support. Either option's not great because there's no way that they could be aware of this release and how they're going to probably break it with their update and all this stuff and know that this is happening and then also still care about the modders and about the project. That can't be true at the same time. And it also can't be true at the same time that they care but also don't care. So like either way, Bethesda just comes off as looking really, really slimy. 100% I think that Bethesda is oblivious to the fact that their modders are what make their games live as long as they do. Well, but at the same time, Demon Frog, that's what it is. At the same time, Bethesda says that like they don't want to move away from the creation engine, for example, because of the mod support, because it helps their modders keep their games alive and all of this stuff. It's just, I don't know if it's like a bitterness towards other groups of people that make their games, for lack of a better term, like better. I don't know if that's what it is, because Bethesda's always been weird with Fallout New Vegas. If you've ever seen like, somebody needs to do a compilation of it. They need to pull like clips of Todd Howard and other Bethesda devs being asked about New Vegas, because Emil Pagliarulo, Todd Howard, like some of the other executives and head honchos within Bethesda Game Studios, they get freaking weird when people bring up Fallout New Vegas. It really comes off as like the older brother who's told about the younger brother who's doing really well in life. So like the older brother is flat broke and is has no friends and everything is just like terrible in his life, and then meanwhile his younger brother is like about to get elected to the Senate and is a multimillionaire and all this. That's what it comes off as like somebody asking the older brother, yeah, so Fallout New Vegas, your younger brother, how do you feel about that? It gets weird. It just gets weird very, very quickly the moment it's brought up. And similar things are happening with this. Like it's maddening. Hasn't Todd talked about them hiring modders over the past couple of years? So people are bringing up in chat that they brought some modders on for Starfield projects. They also have their creation club thing where modders can basically create paid mods that you could purchase if you want, and you can be compensated that way. But the extent that we're aware of it is that they've only ever brought on people that would work on smaller scale stuff. Nothing like on a large scale or anything, no offense to anybody, but nothing this like crazy impressive. This is bafflingly impressive. It's wild that somebody would go to this length, a group of people would go to this extent for free just cuz. Like it's genuinely shocking. But I mean, you can see they've done standalone weapon mods, they've done all sorts of stuff, but they've had to put it on hold. They've had to put it all on hold because they don't know if it's going to break. I mean, they're pretty sure it's going to break everything because every time they issue a big update, they break everything. The article we were reading goes on. Ultimately, Carter sounded philosophical about what's happened to Fallout London. He said any potential engine improvements and performance upgrades will benefit the mod, letting the team, quote, push the engine even harder than we've already pushed it. So we're going to get these great quality of life improvements all in the mod. One example Carter provided is widescreen compatibility, which was previously up in the air. The Fallout 4 update for PC adds widescreen and ultra widescreen support. Carter concluded the announcement with a reference to the classic Fallout line, war never changes. As soon as we've fixed it, it'll drop. But yeah, Bethesda never changes. Fallout London is, as you would expect, not set in America, blah, blah. They kind of run through all of it. When the creators of Fallout London say it's a DLC size mod, they meet it. It currently weighs in between 30 and 40 gigabytes, which makes it too big for Fallout 4 on console and even Nexus Mods itself. GOG, which specializes in selling selling DRM-free PC games, has apparently stepped in to make Fallout London available to Fallout 4 owners across GOG, Steam, and potentially the Epic Games Store as well, after the next gen update goes live. So shout out to GOG. If you don't know GOG online store, you might not realize this, but it's actually part of the CDPR group. So it's kind of their version of the Epic Games Store. They sell their games through GOG, and it's pretty cool. They often have really good deals on games and stuff, and they're actually taking steps to make these games available and these updates available, which is awesome. But all this to say, I mean, I don't think anybody is particularly shocked. How can anybody not know GOG and be here? I don't know, you'd be surprised. Nobody's shocked by this. I don't think. It's just unfortunately predictable. but it still sucks. Like, this team can do this amazing work and not even get a good job, keep it up from Bethesda. Not even a heads up, hey, this is under NDA, but we're releasing the next gen update on April 25th. Like, they don't even get that courtesy. And that's just insane to me. It's ridiculous. So nobody's that shocked, but it still just sucks. It still sucks. So with the Fallout 4 next gen update, there's some interesting little tidbits. The product offerings are fine. So for example, they outline how it's going to add ultra wide support and super giga ultra wide support, which is a cool addition to have officially. You previously had to do it through mods. It would be a little not great. It just didn't work perfectly, but to have official support now, that's cool. Love that. So they outline it. It'll be native applications, so you'll be able to actually play it on an actual Xbox Series app or a PlayStation 5 app as opposed to a PS4 or Xbox One app, which cool. Doesn't matter that much on Xbox, but on PlayStation that matters for performance. It'll offer performance mode and quality mode settings, stability improvements and fixes. It'll be playable up to 60 FPS with increased resolution. All great stuff. Elsewhere, Fallout 4 on PS4 and Xbox One will also get free updates with stability improvements, login, and quest fixes, they said in their blog post. And finally, a free Fallout 4 update for PC adds widescreen support, ultra-wide support, as well as fixes to Creation Kit and various quest updates. Again, as we outlined in the previous segment, probably also breaking a lot of mods in the process. Whenever they mess with like Creation Kit stuff, it's going to break tons of mods. Like it just will. Yeah, PC players will see some improvements as well, blah, blah, blah. Nothing too crazy. If we pull up the actual blog post though, we go in here, they also outline some other items you can get. Halloween Workshop. Leftover from an ill-fated Halloween party thrown by the New England Technocratic Society, these 38 new Halloween decorations include witches, cauldrons, ghouls, and more. Decorate for Halloween and make your settlement spooky all year round. This far and away was the most out-of-pocket thing that they announced. It's just really weird and random. I was like, okay, I get all this stuff. Weapon packs, makeshift weapon packs, kind of in line with the show where we see the junk cannons a lot. Okay, that could appeal to some people. Enclave remnants, workshop item, and new uniforms, previously released Creation Club content. So they're just including it now instead of charging you for it. Cool. But this is just the most random thing. And I think it's because, and this is, I guess sort of a theory, speculation, whatever. But to me, if there's out-of-pocket Halloween decorations including in this, it's probably safe to say that they originally were guessing this would come out sometime around Halloween. I don't think that that's crazy. I think they probably were initially thinking, okay, well, this offering, this package, maybe we toss it out sometime in like October and we'll go from there. And some way along the way, like either they had to divert effort and developers to other projects or something else that was more pressing. And then they came back to this later when they had time. And by then they're like, well, we already made all this stuff. Let's just throw it in the package. It'll be included, whatever. I know bombs dropped on Halloween. That's why. Exactly. Like, I do think that that's thematically what they're doing, but it's also not Halloween. It is April. So to me, it makes sense that they were trying to do all of this in one package if it were to land around that time. Total speculation. There's nothing confirming that, but I get the vibe that they probably dropped this. Some of the developers that were working on the engine overhauls and improvements and stuff probably went over and started working on Starfield improvements because they made a handful of improvements to Starfield around that time, late in the fall and around the holiday season. And then this probably got pushed back and they're like, okay, well now we'll just shoot for closer to the show. But it seems like there were a series of delays at some point in this process. But the whole thing has been really oddly communicated, and there's been a lack of communication with it, where this was supposed to release previously. They didn't give out clear release dates. They didn't say when this was coming. They didn't make clear what was happening with it. The show drops and then they announce that this is coming like a week and a half, 2 weeks after the show officially launches. Just like a little random and weird. I guess it's closer to 2 weeks after the show. So the whole thing has just been very, very thrown together is what it feels like. It's like, okay, well, if you had this, why wouldn't you drop this like the day before the show drops or the day after the show drops when the hype is at its peak? And then everybody goes to download Fallout 4. Oh, and it's also got a next gen update. That's awesome. I don't know why they're doing it like 2 weeks after the fact. And I think you're right, Pretty Eye. It comes off to me as like just they're disorganized and they're kind of running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And it just seems like broadly there's a lack of communication. Now, I've at this point heard from 3 different developers. I almost did 4. 3 different developers as part of like my Starfield survey thing that I did and other discussions I've had. I've heard from multiple people, 3 different people that have direct knowledge of the inner workings of Bethesda Game Studios, is how I'll put it. And these people have explained pretty clearly to me that the way that Bethesda is structured currently is pretty disjointed. So how they do it is they're concerned with secrecy for one and privacy. So they keep one hand doing something over here and the other hand is over here, and they never know what the other one is doing. So how it was described to me is that one team can be working on a certain set of deliverables. So it's like, we need to deliver these fixes, or we need to find this way, or these animations, or whatever. But they don't know what they're for. They don't know where it's going. They don't know if it's going to be used on this project or that project. It's very, very disjointed. And it's that way by design. Other companies work this way too when they want to prevent things from leaking. Like if you know, if this guy is just making this one thing, he doesn't have enough information to like leak and spread what the concept of the game is, right? Very few people know how the pieces fit together. You just have individual groups work on the pieces. However, they were also saying that in the, as part of all of this, they have to go to the same higher ups that are overseeing a bunch of different teams, but nonetheless, they still don't know everything. And then those higher ups that are like mid-level managers have to then go up to the upper level managers and game directors, the guys like Emil or Todd. And then those people have to go to Todd or Emil for final approval on things. So there's multiple layers of bureaucracy, and things are intentionally layered like that and separated to protect the privacy of the projects they're working on, which I get. Games like Starfield or Elder Scrolls would leak like crazy if they didn't have stuff like that going on. So I understand it, but it also leads to a lot of inefficiency, leads to lots of problems where there's confusion, where this team wouldn't have done things in that way if they knew it was going to be used for that, because they know, oh, well, if you're doing it in that system, and we're doing these other things in that game, then we have to shift this around, and it just doesn't really work that well. You get the benefit of secrecy, but you lose out on all the other benefits of having a more flat and collaborative environment. And you guys are right. CDPR previously discussed working like this. They previously described how they did this, and it didn't really work out too well. Like CZ James says, that's how CDPR worked, and then Cyberpunk happened. They made big changes, and Phantom Liberty was the fruit of those efforts. Yeah. How can you keep development branches separate without checking for conflicts? Well, that's what the managers are supposed to be doing. But the problem is, we're going to MS Paint this bitch. I'm going to just MS Paint it. That's what we're going to do. So the problem is that if you have Todd, and then underneath Todd, you have a few other managers, let's say, okay? And they all report directly to Todd. And then you have a series of middle managers that all go out underneath them. And these guys have their own teams. They do their own thing. This is pretty normal for corporate work. I mean, even Apple and Microsoft for hardware teams are going to be working this way, right? So each of these is their own middle manager. And then each of these guys are running teams that could be 5, 10 people large. It could be just one dude. It could be totally varied. But this might be like the tech side, and then this is like stories. This is like Emil, and then this is maybe gameplay. So you have all this kind of segmented away in different ways. But then these guys each have their own things. Yeah, with all this, it's super, super segmented. This is how a lot of companies work. And it can work in some contexts if you're doing like you're designing a cell phone. If Apple is working on like the next iPhone, they can have the camera team working separate like camera team can be working separate from the display team, can be working separate from the like microchip team, can be working separate from the manufacturing team. Like they'll check in, the supervising managers will check in and make sure everything's working together, but the display guys don't need to know what the CPU guys are doing. They don't need to know what the camera guys are doing. They can separate them out. In game development though, it's a creative collaborative effort. It's just different. And that's what makes game development so hard, is that it's both technical, but it's also very it's also very creative. It's very collaborative. You have to be able to work together in a very intimate way. And when you have it too segmented, you have a team working on something over here that breaks something over here, and then these guys do something that breaks this over here. But because maybe these guys aren't talking together too clearly, or these middle managers don't know what they're doing over here, it just creates a lot of bloat, a lot of wasted time, and you run into lots and lots of trouble. And with BGS specifically, these people have explained to me and described to me how even though Todd has talked in interviews about wanting to be separated from direct development, he wants to take on more of an executive producer role, they said all of the final decisions still land on him. So if you want something done that's notable and significant, it will still have to go through Todd, but they describe Todd as being very absent compared to what they would need him to be. So they described basically a situation where Todd needs to give the thumbs up on a bunch of things. Like say there's a list of 20 different things he has to approve. And if he's off working on the show, or if he's off doing something else, collaborating and working with Machine Games on the Indiana Jones game, he's just away from the office. So everybody's trying to find ways to do things. And so it's like you just wait for Todd to get back and give approvals, and then, or notes, and then you get the notes and you go back and you change things. But it just leads to a situation where things are very, very slow and too contingent on just one guy, and it causes problems. Yeah, Shinji, I think Todd has centralized too much power. He should give his subordinates some creative liberties. Well, evidently when he's done that, they've run into problems with issues. And that's derivative. Where they've run into problems with issues. I think with Starfield, towards the end of development, they were trying to do that much more. But these people who have direct knowledge of the inner workings of Bethesda said that even currently, whether Todd is trying to get his hands off the wheel or not, his hands are still on the wheel. And it could be like a slow growing pains type of thing. It could be that Todd is like, he doesn't want to be the one in charge. So he's like, I'm trying to do other stuff. I'm trying to take a back seat. So I'm going to basically just be gone and force these three guys to make those decisions. But my understanding is right now, that's not actually happening. Right now, even though Todd is largely absent, a lot of the decisions just sit on these executives' desks and they wait to get approval from Todd. And that might be, maybe Todd, is upset if they make decisions without him. Maybe it's just that they really respect him as a developer and they want to just wait for his approval. Who knows? But they described it as basically a company that's in transition of a centralization of power. And that guy, whether he truly wants to spread the wealth and get rid of the power, whether that's actually the case is up in the air, because effectively all the decisions still land on his desk. And they also described morale specifically. And I heard this from one of the guys that contacted me, was saying how, morale on his team is fine. He's like, yeah, we're kind of bummed Starfield wasn't received better, but everybody's just doing their own thing. We're pretty proud of the game, even after all that. The other two individuals said morale on their teams is extremely low. And they said productivity is really low. They said that people are very frustrated because a lot of the problems people had with Starfield were things that were brought up, that were ignored, and that could have been dealt with and fixed, but weren't because higher ups didn't think it was a big problem. And it just sounds very dysfunctional. So I wish them the best of luck, but it does seem like there's drama afoot. And there's some other more specific things that were brought up that I would like to talk about in the future, if I can get them confirmed. I've not gotten them confirmed. When I do, I will let you guys know. But yeah, some interesting things.
He took my thing.